Welcome back to Halloween Horror Reviews 2023. I really hope you guys have been enjoying the reviews been putting out so far for this year's reviews, because man, I am having such a great time with this year's reviews, talking about films I either really like, or films that I absolutely love. When it comes to today's review, like with the other reviews, besides only a couple of movies that I haven't seen yet, and for the first time for this reviews, by the way, this movie in particular, I've been wanting to do a video on this movie for such a long time. Moving on with today's review, I'm here to talk about 1974's Young Frankenstein, directed by Mel Brooks. Or actually, excuse me, my apologies, that's not Frankenstein, that's
Frankenstein.
I cannot mention Young Frankenstein without talking the Frankenstein joke. In Young Frankenstein, we follow Frederick Frankenstein, portrayed by Gene Wilder, who is a person that, to say the least, wants to dissociate himself from the Frankenstein family as far away as he possibly can, like to the point where he refers to them as just a bunch of psychos, until one day he gets invited to go to Transylvania, where his grandfather's castle is, and when he gets there, he discovers that, hey, he can actually reanimate dead people. Alrighty guys, so let's get into Young Frankenstein.
Damien!
I cannot tell you all how excited I am to be talking about Young Frankenstein. Before I continue on and gush about my love for this movie, I need to talk about the first time I saw this movie. When I was growing up, my dad showed my brother and I all the classics. I mean, he showed us Terminator 2, the first Terminator film. He showed us Die Hard, amongst many other comedy classics like Ghostbusters. There was one particular weekend in which I don't know if my dad had it on Blu-ray or DVD, or if he ran to the library, but one of the films that he showed us one weekend was Young Frankenstein. I think I was maybe, I want to say 11 or 12 years old at the time. I'm not too sure on that one. Young Frankenstein, throughout the entire runtime of this movie, myself, my brother, and my dad, we were all laughing hysterically throughout the entire film. I didn't get all the jokes when I was younger. I got primarily the slapstick humor and some of the more body language style of humor when I was a kid. But even then, as a kid, this movie had me laughing so that I was in tears in a couple of sequences. I rewatched the film, I think it was like, a week or two ago with my girlfriend, and holy shit. Young Frankenstein is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen, that even has some great horror elements. If I were to go over every single performance of this movie, it would take me at least 10 minutes. So I'm going to focus on 4 performances here. One of them being, I forgot her name. Let me look her name up really quick because I feel really bad. But she plays Inga. Give me one moment. Terry Garr as Inga is absolutely brilliant. In particular, Terry Garr as Inga, I think, is absolutely brilliant. Her comedic foil going with not only Marty Feldman as Igor, but also Gene Wilder's Victor. I can't stop laughing when it comes to this movie, guys. As you can tell, I fucking love this movie. Peter Boyle as the monster gives such a brilliant and a witty performance. Not only, and something I do want to bring up, I'm going to mention this later on, not only giving such a great spoof at his own twist on what Boris Karloff did as Frankenstein's monster, it is still none that's crafted with such a loving homage to the actual source material itself. And Peter Boyle is the Frankenstein's monster, or sorry, Frankenstein's monster. One actor I must talk about here, Marty Feldman as Igor. Marty Feldman in this movie, to say the least, is an absolute genius. One of my favorite running jokes involves his hump. There is a particular joke in this film that involved him and Gene Wilder that had me in stitches. I was laughing so hard. I have to give special time to the man of the hour, and that is Gene Wilder as Frederick Frankenstein. First of all, R.I.P. to one of the greatest actors and screeners who ever lived. He's nothing but perfection. He really is. One of the greatest comedic performances I have ever seen in a film. Like I had mentioned with Peter Boyle as Frankenstein's monster, Gene Wilder does such a great job of not only giving his own interpretation of essentially, Victor Frankenstein, but also the way that Gene Wilder comes off as this maniacal scientist, seeing the evolution of his character from going to someone who wants to be as far away from his family as he possibly can, and then when he discovers his grandfather's library, seeing the transformation of someone that is just wanting to be completely out of that wheelhouse, and then going into the maniacal scientist that his grandfather is an absolutely brilliant character arc. And there's one particular scene that I was just going like, that is a brilliant turn. I could go on and just praise the living crap out of every actor in this movie, but Gene Wilder's the person I have to give special mention to, because man, Gene Wilder in this movie, at least in my eyes, like I mentioned to you guys earlier, I honestly gotta think that besides him in Blazing Saddles, gives his best comedic performance I have ever seen in a film. Gene Wilder, to say the least, is absolutely perfection in this movie. And again, rest in peace. I still can't believe Gene Wilder is gone. He was seriously one of the greats out there. Something else that I must mention about Young Frankenstein is the absolutely brilliant screenplay that Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks wrote together. This screenplay is one of the best comedic screenplays ever put on screen. Something that I never noticed, of course, as a kid, because never paying attention to the screenplay elements of a movie, but as an adult, one thing I noticed, and I cannot believe I didn't notice this in my further rewatches of this movie, one of the things that I absolutely about the screenplay is how the screenplay merges elements of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, even Bride of Frankenstein. The Bride of Frankenstein references, I didn't even notice until halfway through the film. The way that Mel Brooks subtly foreshadows and sets up Bride of Frankenstein later on again as an absolutely genius move. And if you don't pay attention, you can easily miss it. Once I saw the reference, I just went, how did I not notice that? Son of Frankenstein, which I have not seen in years. Like, it has been literally years. I heard from a DVD commentary from Gene Wilder that it was just more than those three films. Like, I heard Ghost of Frankenstein was also referenced, but how Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder are able to somehow weave together all these elements while still creating a cohesive and just a funny as hell comedy film that not only is just, like I said, a funny as hell movie, but also a loving tribute to the films that inspired Young Frankenstein. Something else I want to talk about really quick, and a fun fact for you guys, because this leads into the next part, which I'll go into momentarily. Before Young Frankenstein was made, as they were writing the screenplay, Gene Wilder had one condition for Mel Brooks: you are not going to be in this movie. Like, you are not going to be in this movie, otherwise I'm not going to do it. I think that one condition that Gene Wilder had for Mel Brooks made the movie better, because if anything, what Mel Brooks was able to accomplish solely being behind the camera, at least in my eyes, resulted in possibly his finest crafted movie. The craftsmanship that Mel Brooks has behind the camera is absolutely prevalent and evident throughout the entire film. Mel Brooks not only shows how great he is of the director behind the camera when he's not on screen, even though, don't be wrong to you guys, when Mel Brooks has a role on screen, he makes the most out of it, absolutely. But you can totally see Mel Brooks' affection for the original source material, and not to mention the production design, how he moves with the DP in terms of cinematography. And I honestly gotta think that condition that Gene Wilder made for Mel Brooks only made the movie that much better. The black and white cinematography of Young Frankenstein, to say the least, is just absolutely gorgeous. Whether it comes to cinematography showcasing the brilliant and beautiful production design, showcasing some great scenic shots, Young Frankenstein is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen. This movie, from start until finish, is nothing but just laugh out loud laughter, and also contains some of the funniest jokes in the film, some of the greatest slapstick humor, and some of the greatest body language comedy, if that even makes sense. If I were to talk about some of my favorite moments in Young Frankenstein, it is difficult because this movie has some of the funniest moments I've ever seen in the film, but if I can choose 3 moments in particular, this moment always makes me laugh every time.
What knockers?
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Every time I see this moment, this particular moment always cracks me the fuck up. Play the clip.
Now listen to me very carefully. Don't put the candle back. With all of your might, shove against the other side of the bookcase.
Put the candle back!
No matter how many times I see this moment, I laugh sort of in tears, but one of my favorite moments in the entire film is this moment with Gene Wilder and Peter Boyle doing this thing, and holy shit, Peter Boyle's reaction in this scene. I'm not gonna say any more, just play the damn clip. Roll it.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? Different types who wear a day coat, pants with stripes, or cutaway coat, perfect fits.
When I was rewatching this movie recently, guys, I was in tears. I was laughing so hard. And by the way, guys, those three scenes are just some of the many great comedic moments. Not to mention, there's also a lot of great running jokes, like the Frankenstein running joke, the Igor running joke, Frau Butcher when the fucking horses always lose their mind.
After you, Frau Blucher. Good night, Frau Blucher.
Frau Blucher!
Blucher!
To say that Young Frankenstein is absolutely hilarious is an understatement. Young Frankenstein actually has some surprisingly good horror elements. Gene Wilder actually, when it comes to him transforming into the mad scientist, he actually gives a pretty freaky moment. It's actually really well done.
Happy parents, you old fuck!
I don't think it's Mel Brooks' funniest movie. To me, that goes to Blazing Saddles. But otherwise, I have no issues with this movie at all. So overall, Young Frankenstein, to put it simply, is one of the funniest films I have ever seen that also happens to have some good horror elements. While I don't think that Young Frankenstein is Mel Brooks' funniest film, I actually still think that's Blazing Saddles, but still, I do think that Young Frankenstein is Mel Brooks' best film and his finest film as a director. It's my favorite movies of all time, and I am absolutely going to give Young Frankenstein a 6 out of 5. So put, guys, if you have not seen Young Frankenstein somehow, please, guys, pop this movie in. It is one of the funniest films ever made. Go watch this film. So comment down below, let me know. Have you guys seen Young Frankenstein? Or actually, a better question, what is your favorite joke in Young Frankenstein? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm also on Twitch. So if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links in the usernames are in the description below. I hope you all enjoyed my review of Young Frankenstein. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell for my latest review goes live. If you guys want to see my previous 2 reviews, please click either right there or right there. And of course, until my next review of Halloween Horror Movies 2023 goes live, I will see you all next time.